The family is being demolished. In fact, we're watching a controlled demolition of the family unit. What happens as the family crumbles is everything else crumbles along with it. And I submit to you, Garrett, this is a direct result of the indoctrination taking place in government schools. Now, I always caution, first of all, Christian education doesn't save your children. Jesus Christ does. And second of all, we know for a fact that the gates of hell will never prevail against the church. But that doesn't mean that Christianity will continue in America. That doesn't mean that America will continue to be a tool that God used to spread the gospel throughout the whole world. In fact, at the current rate that we're going, I suspect America will be a genuinely post-Christian country within a generation or two if we don't stop the bleeding.
So you say we lose all these battles, and you've talked a little bit about these different realms. I want to just throw a few at you really quickly, and I want to hear how you would say this overwhelming influence of public schools is affecting these realms. Okay, first of all, the family, the basic unit of structure in our culture. How is it affected?
The family is being demolished. In fact, we're watching a controlled demolition of the family unit. We all know the statistics. I mean, half of marriages, they say, in the United States end in divorce. The overwhelming majority of children in a lot of different communities are raised in single-parent households. Young people are overwhelmingly rejecting even the idea of marriage, the idea of family. It's at the point now where a huge segment of our young people, depending on what part of the country you're in, are now hoping to be castrated, hoping to have hysterectomies and double mastectomies, making them literally incapable of ever starting a real family. So this is, it's hard to overstate the significance of this, right? Family is the most important building block of civilization. Marriage, of course, is a representation of the relationship between Christ and the church. It's a supernatural institution. And what happens as the family crumbles is everything else crumbles along with it. And I submit to you, Garrett, this is a direct result. And I'm not beating around the bush and no sugarcoating this. This is a direct result of the indoctrination taking place in government schools. In fact, I've got 2 chapters in my new book dealing with this very process. Both of them surround the influence of so-called sex education, the transgenderism and things. And so we've watched this very, very steady progression. Now, there are other factors as well. Of course, the government's war on poverty, literally subsidizing unwed motherhood. So there's a lot of policies that contributed to this, but I would argue that overwhelmingly the most dominant force responsible for this is the indoctrination of children in not just godless government schools, but literally pagan, literally diabolical schools that are where the curriculum is calculated to undermine, first of all, children's relations with their parents, and second of all, children's desire to have a family, to have children, and to pass on values, culture, tradition to the next generation. I would say this is probably one of the most catastrophic problems with what's happening in the government school is the war that it's waging on the family.
I completely agree. I saw the other day a statistic, and I've seen this before. It depends on who's polling, what results you get, but it looks like approximately 20% of Gen Z identifies as some form of LGBTQI, whatever. And among girls, the number is higher. And I've seen as high as 30% of that generation. And the problem is you look at the graph and it goes generation to generation, it goes low, 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 and then it just launches up. And it's impossible to think that that's not an effect of this indoctrination that's been poured into the schools. We have Planned Parenthood and other organizations, GLSEN and these organizations who are in the schools, and they're effectively discipling kids in the religion of sexual freedom and immorality and the complete divorce from a moral foundation. So I agree with you. This episode of Rapid Response was brought to you by CTC Math. Visit them at ctcmath.com today.